welcome to the 12 Days of Christmas. We are talking about the various characters in the Christmas story. And one of those who makes an appearance, at least by name only, is a gentleman by the name of Caesar Augustus. And we find that starts for us the Christmas story in Luke chapter 2. In those days, a decree went out from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be taxed or registered. This was the first registration when Quirinius was governor of Syria, and all went to be registered, each to his own town. And Joseph also went up from Galilee, from the town of Nazareth to Judea, to the city of David, which is called Bethlehem, because he was of the house and the lineage of David, to be registered with Mary, his betrothed, the woman he was engaged to, who was with child. Immediately, we see the name Caesar Augustus appear. And it's important to just understand briefly who that is. So there's a little bit of history here that makes the story, helps us understand the story even better. Caesar Augustus was first known as Caiaphas Octavius. Octavius was only 18 years old when his great uncle, Julius Caesar, named him to be the heir of Rome. So when Julius Caesar is assassinated, Octavius forges an alliance with Mark Antony. Now, he was the famed general under Caesar, you may remember. Together, they eliminate all the opponents. So between Mark Antony and Julius and Caius Octavius, they take care of the opponents. In fact, Mark Antony pursues Caesar's assassins, Julius Caesar's assassins, all the way down to Greece and defeats them at Philippi. Now, eventually, Octavius, who will become Caesar Augustus, and Mark Antony are no longer allies, they become opponents. And after Antony's affair with Cleopatra in Egypt, Octavius sends the Roman army and pursues Mark Antony, and he eliminates Mark Antony and Cleopatra from the story. Now, before and after Julius' death, the Roman government was constantly torn by power struggles. So there was no peace anywhere. You never really knew you can almost feel the tension. You never really knew who was going to be leading or who was going to be ruling. But when Octavius ascended to his supremacy in 31 BC by defeating Antony, what happened was Octavius returned in triumph. And when he did that, he added the title Augustus, watch this, which means sacred or exalted, to his adopted surname, because he really wasn't a Caesar except for Julius Caesar adopted him. And hence he became Caesar Augustus, and he became the first emperor of Rome in that moment. And immediately, Rome's republican government was effectively abolished, because Augustus, that is Caesar Augustus, was now the supreme military power. And so he reigned until his death in 76. And under his rule, the Roman Empire dominated the Mediterranean region, ushering in a period of great prosperity and relative peace, because they had one military leader. They were no longer torn asunder. And we call that the Pax Romana, or the peace of Rome. And into that setting, Caesar Augustus ordered all the world to be registered. Now, this wasn't just a one-time census, it would be repeated, but it was unusual for this census to be taken in Israel, because they typically took a census because they needed to get more soldiers into the armies. But the Jewish men didn't serve in the Roman army. But this census becomes different in that they are trying to understand how vast the empire is, and so that they can indeed tax them. So this takes place there. Now, the other thing that you just want to remember is there's another man, a man that I'm going to call a middle manager. His name is Quirinius, and he is the governor of Syria. He would work out the details and enforce the census. So Joseph was likely, because Joseph was born in Bethlehem, one of the reasons he returns is because the governor of Syria sets up the pattern whereby they have to go back and be registered in Bethlehem. And the other character that's significant here is King Herod, and he's the final character. He is referred to as Herod the King, a position that he probably paid Rome to have. So you have the Roman emperor, that is Caesar Augustus. He brought about the peace of Rome. You have Quirinius, who arranged for Jesus to be born in Bethlehem, because as the middle manager, he kind of set that up. And then you have Herod, who forced the boy Jesus to spend time in Egypt, because he was going to execute anybody who may be known as a king. Caesar Augustus brings about the peace of Rome. Quirinius makes sure that Jesus is born in Bethlehem, fulfilling the prophecy of Malachi 5:2, out of Bethlehem Ephrathah, that's where Jesus would be born. And Herod forces Jesus to travel as a little boy with his mom and dad down to Egypt and then come up out of Egypt, so he fulfills Hosea 11:1. This is so important. The big names, the most important leaders in what would have been known as the common civilization then, everyone thought they were in charge. Think about this. They were simply instruments and tools that God was using to bring about his son. One final thought on this. Caesar Augustus, his name means the divine one, the one who, the divinity, essentially. He is the one that is to be exalted. You have three men who are attempting to act like gods, and you have one God who will demonstrate and be revealed in the manger as one who is not simply God, but one who is becoming a man.